4 years, I had been waiting for that one email that could change everything. Every morning I'd open my inbox, my heart skipping at every new notification, hoping it would finally arrive. I worked longer hours than anyone in the office, stayed late when the lights were already off, chasing something more than just money. I wanted proof that all those sleepless nights, the stress, the loneliness, were worth something. And then, one rainy Thursday morning, it happened. The subject line was short. "Congratulations, Lillian, you've been promoted." I stared at the words until they blurred. For a second, I thought I was dreaming. All I could think about was calling my mom. She had always told me to keep pushing, that one day it would all pay off. I imagined her proud voice, my sister's smile, the little celebration we'd have that weekend. I didn't expect the silence that followed. When I told her, she didn't sound happy. Her tone wasn't warm or proud, it was flat, almost cold. She said she was busy, and hung up after a few seconds. I sat there, phone still pressed to my ear, listening to the empty click on the other side. At first, I thought maybe she was tired, or maybe my timing was bad. But as the day went on, that uneasy feeling in my chest grew heavier. I texted my sister, Lily, but she didn't reply either. Just a single scene under my message. That night, I scrolled through social media and saw her post. "Some people climb ladders built from other people's efforts." My stomach twisted. I knew she was talking about me. For the next few days, everything that should have been joy started to feel hollow. At work, people congratulated me, brought cupcakes, smiled like I'd achieved something great. And yet, every time someone said, "You deserve this, Lillian," I felt a sharp sting of doubt. Because if my own family didn't believe it, what did it even mean? I tried calling again. Mom didn't answer. Then she sent me one message. "I hope you're proud of yourself. You took what wasn't yours." I read that line over and over until it felt unreal. What wasn't mine? What had I taken? I lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling. Memories of growing up with Lily flooded my mind, how she was always the favorite, the one who could do no wrong. I used to think that if I worked hard enough, maybe one day my mom would look at me with the same light in her eyes she reserved for my sister. But that day never came. Even now, after everything I achieved, she still found a way to make me feel small. At work, my boss asked me to prepare a presentation for the board. My first big project as a department head. Everyone was excited. I smiled, nodded, acted like I was too. But inside, all I could think about was that text. "You took what wasn't yours." The words played in my mind like a loop. By the end of the week, the excitement had completely faded. I didn't even tell anyone else about the promotion. I couldn't. It felt tainted, like something I had to defend instead of celebrate. I didn't know it yet, but that message from my mom was just the beginning. Something deeper, darker was hidden behind it. Something that would soon turn my pride into disbelief, and my love for my family into quiet anger. And it all started with one sentence that should have meant happiness. "Congratulations, Lillian. You've been promoted." But it didn't feel like winning. It felt like losing something I didn't even know I still cared about. Days turned into weeks, and the distance between us grew wider than ever. What used to be casual calls every evening slowly disappeared into nothing. The sound of my mother's voice, once so constant in my life, was now just a memory that replayed in my head when nights got too quiet. At first, I tried to pretend everything was fine. I sent her photos of my office, flowers from colleagues, the new nameplate on my desk, Lillian Moore, Head of Communications. She never replied. Not even an emoji. Then I tried to call my sister. She didn't pick up either. Instead, she posted more cryptic stories online. Some people get what they don't deserve, but karma always knows the truth. My name wasn't there, but everyone who knew us could tell who she meant. I kept asking myself what I had done wrong. We grew up sharing everything. Our room, our secrets, our clothes. Lily was the loud one, the charming one, the girl who could light up a room just by walking in. I was always the quiet shadow standing behind her. And I didn't mind. Not really. Until I realized that, no matter what I did, it would never be enough for my mom. I thought maybe she was jealous, not of the promotion itself, but of what it represented. For once, I had stepped out of my sister's shadow. For once, the world had seen me first. And maybe that's what they couldn't stand. A week later, I drove home. I told myself it was just a visit, to talk, to clear the air. But in truth, I was desperate. I wanted my family back. The house looked smaller than I remembered. The paint on the porch was fading, the garden unkept. I stood at the front door for a long minute before knocking. Mom opened it, surprised, or maybe annoyed. Her eyes scanned me like I was a stranger. She didn't hug me. Didn't even smile. "Didn't think you'd still have time for us," she said, her voice flat. I stepped inside, pretending not to hear the bitterness dripping from her tone. The house smelled the same, vanilla candles and old coffee, but the warmth was gone. Lily wasn't there. Her room door was closed. Mom talked about trivial things, the neighbor's new dog, the broken washing machine, like nothing had happened. Every time I tried to mention my promotion, she changed the subject. It was as if the word itself burned her tongue. That evening, when she went to bed, I walked around the living room alone. Our family photos hung on the wall. Birthdays, graduations, Christmas mornings. In every picture, Lily stood in the center. I was always at the edge, smiling, but barely visible. I never noticed that before. It hit me how invisible I'd been all along. Before leaving, I stopped outside Lily's door. I almost knocked, but then I heard her laughing softly on the phone. Her voice sounded light, happy, unbothered. I realized she wasn't suffering at all. Maybe she didn't feel guilty. Maybe she didn't even care. The next morning, I left early. Mom didn't walk me to the door. She just said, "Drive safe." No emotion. No warmth. As I drove away, the silence in the car felt heavier than any words could. I looked at the house in the mirror, the place that once felt like home, and for the first time, I wondered if I'd ever belong there again. Back in the city, I buried myself in work. Emails. Meetings. Deadlines. But no matter how much I tried to drown it out, that cold silence stayed with me. It followed me home, whispered in the dark, reminded me that something was broken, not just between us, but deep inside me. I didn't know it yet, but the real reason behind that silence was waiting for me. And it would destroy the last bit of trust one had left. It had been almost a month since I last went home, but the silence still haunted me. I checked my phone more often than I'd like to admit, hoping for a message, even a short one, from my mom or sister. Nothing ever came. Then one night, I got a call from my old neighbor, Mrs. Hall. She said Mom hadn't been feeling well and that Lily had moved back home for a while. For a moment, my heart softened. Maybe this was my chance to fix things, to sit down and talk like we used to. The next weekend, I drove home again. The same small house, the same peeling paint, but this time it felt heavier, like even the walls were tired of holding secrets. When Mom saw me at the door, she looked startled. "Oh, you came," she said. No hug, no smile. But she let me in. Lily wasn't in the living room. Mom said she was upstairs working on something. We ate dinner in near silence. The sound of the ticking clock filled the gaps where conversations used to live. I tried to ask about her health, about Lily's job, about anything, but every answer was short, cold, rehearsed. It was clear, I wasn't welcome. After dinner, Mom went to bed early. I stayed downstairs, unable to sleep. I wanted to talk to Lily before leaving. I needed to understand what had gone so wrong. The kitchen light was still on, so I went in, hoping she'd be there. Instead, I found her laptop open on the table, screen glowing in the dark. A draft of an email was still visible. Curiosity got the better of me. At first, I thought it was some random message, until I saw the recipient's name. It was Mr. Carter, my boss. My pulse spiked. I scrolled up, and my entire body went cold. It wasn't just a draft. It was a sent email. The subject line read, "About Lillian Moore's promotion." I froze as I started to read. "I believe you've made a mistake promoting my sister. She lied about her test results during the company assessment and took credit for work that wasn't hers. I thought you should know before things go too far." For a long moment, I couldn't breathe. The words blurred as my hands trembled over the keyboard. It was signed, Lily Moore. I sat there in silence, staring at the screen, trying to process it. She had written to my boss. She had tried to ruin me. And my mother knew. She must have known. That's why she said I stole her future. Suddenly, all the strange behavior made sense. The coldness, the distance, the blame. They hadn't just turned their backs on me. They'd believed I was guilty of something I never did. I closed the laptop, my hands shaking. The house felt suffocating now, like the walls were watching me. I looked around and realized this wasn't my home anymore. It hadn't been for a long time. Before leaving, I stood by the stairs, listening to the faint sound of their voices from upstairs. My name was mentioned, followed by laughter. I didn't stay to hear the rest. As I drove away that night, the wind against the car window sounded almost like a whisper. "You took what wasn't yours." But for the first time, I wasn't the one who felt guilty. I felt betrayed by the people who were supposed to love me the most. I didn't know what to do with the anger. It sat in my chest like a heavy stone. Part of me wanted to forward that email to HR, to expose her lies, to make her pay. But another part, the tired, wounded part, just wanted to disappear and never speak to them again. That night, I promised myself something. If they wanted to see me as the villain, I'd stop trying to prove otherwise. Because the truth always finds its way out. And when it did, I wanted them to remember that I stayed silent, not because I was weak, but because I was done begging for love that was never real. I didn't sleep that night. The image of that email kept flashing in my mind, every sentence carved into me like a wound that refused to close. I read it so many times that I could still see the words when I closed my eyes. By morning, I wasn't angry anymore. I was empty. Still, I drove back to the house. It wasn't about revenge. Not yet. I just needed to hear it from them. I needed to know why. When Mom opened the door, her face turned pale. She hadn't expected to see me again so soon. "Did you forget something?" she asked. Her voice was calm, almost casual, but her eyes flickered with something. Guilt, maybe. "I need to talk to you," I said quietly. She sighed and stepped aside. "Fine. But make it quick." The house was silent except for the faint ticking of the hallway clock. I could hear Lily upstairs, laughing on a call. The sound made my stomach twist. I didn't waste time. "I saw the email," I said. Her eyes widened, just slightly, then narrowed again. "I don't know what you're talking about." But her tone gave her away. "It was sent from Lily's laptop," I said, my voice trembling. "To my boss. She accused me of lying, of cheating my way to the promotion. And you knew." Mom's lips tightened. "You shouldn't have gone through her things. That's what you have to say?" I asked, disbelief rising in my throat. "Not even it's not true." She crossed her arms, her expression hardening. "Lillian, you've always had more than enough. You're strong, smart, independent. Lily, she's not like you. She's sensitive. She needed a chance." I stared at her, unable to process it. "You asked her to do it, didn't you?" Her silence was the answer. The realization hit me like a physical blow. All these years, I'd believed that if I worked harder, if I became successful enough, she'd finally be proud. But I was never supposed to outshine her favorite. "She told me you wouldn't understand," Mom said finally. "That you'd make this about yourself. But everything we do for family." Family. I almost laughed. "You destroyed mine." My voice cracked, but I didn't care anymore. I walked toward the door, the weight of her words crushing me from behind. She didn't stop me. She didn't even look sorry. "Lillian," she said suddenly, her tone softer, almost pleading. I paused, just for a second. But then she added, "You shouldn't have pushed her like that. You always take what's meant for her." That was the moment something inside me broke. Not anger, not sadness, just the quiet certainty that I would never come back here again. I turned around and looked at her one last time. She stood in the same hallway I grew up in, surrounded by old family photos, each one proof of the love that had always skipped over me. "I didn't take anything from her," I said. "You gave it all away before I ever had the chance." Then I walked out. The air outside felt colder, but cleaner somehow. The house behind me stood still, silent, suffocating, like a museum of all the things I used to hope for. As I drove away, tears blurred the road, but my hands didn't shake this time. For the first time in years, I wasn't trying to prove myself to anyone. They had chosen their side. And I was finally done trying to belong to people who never saw me. Weeks passed, and life slowly settled into something new. Something quieter. I didn't visit home again. I didn't call, and no one called me. The silence that once tore me apart now felt strangely peaceful, like the calm after a long storm. At work, I focused on what I could control. Presentations, deadlines, reports. Things that didn't lie, didn't judge, didn't compare. My promotion still felt strange to say out loud, but I began to own it. I earned this. No one could take that away from me. Yet some nights, when the city lights flickered outside my apartment window, the memories crept in. I'd see Lily's face in my mind, the laughter we shared as kids, the secrets whispered under blankets, the nights we promised to always stand by each other. And then I'd remember the email. The betrayal. How something as small as a few sentences could erase an entire lifetime of trust. A few weeks later, I heard from a coworker, someone who used to intern at Lily's company. He mentioned casually, "Hey, isn't your sister the one who got fired last week?" Something about forged documents. For a second, I couldn't even answer. I just stood there, frozen. It wasn't satisfaction I felt. It was something emptier, like watching a fire die out after it's already burned everything down. I didn't celebrate. I didn't even tell anyone. I simply went home that night, sat by the window, and let the silence fill the space where anger used to live. That's when my phone buzzed. It was a message from my mom. "Lillian, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I need you to know, I was wrong." I saw the email. I confronted her. She admitted everything. "I'm sorry for not believing you." For a moment, I just stared at the screen. It didn't feel real. After all this time, after all those words, you took what wasn't yours. Now she wanted forgiveness. But the strange thing was, I didn't feel angry anymore. I didn't feel anything. Just tired. I typed a reply, then deleted it. Then I typed again, shorter this time. "I hope you both find peace." I already have. I put my phone face down and let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. Outside, the rain started again, soft and steady against the glass. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel small. I didn't feel like someone's shadow. I felt like myself. I realized that maybe closure doesn't come from an apology or revenge. Maybe it comes from walking away without looking back. Because sometimes, letting go isn't weakness. It's the only way to finally be free. As the night grew quieter, I opened my laptop, looked at my name on the screen, Lillian Moore, Head of Communications, and smiled. It no longer reminded me of pain. It reminded me of strength. I wasn't the sister who took what wasn't hers. I was the woman who stopped letting others define what she deserved. And that, I thought, was the real promotion.